Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Viktor Jiracek. How are you doing, Viktor?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy to have you here, man. We were talking just a little bit beforehand, and it's going to be a fun conversation for sure. So I'm excited about that. But before we do that, can you sort of introduce yourself to the people, give them an idea about who you are and what you've been up to?
Absolutely. So my name is Victor. I am primarily a fix and flipper here in Gainesville, Florida. This is North Central Florida. I primarily fix and flip in my area. I did about 20 flips last year, looking to do about 30 flips this year. I've really done it all when it comes to real estate. I've tried wholesaling. I've tried Airbnb. I've tried rentals, almost gone into multifamily myself. Happy to talk about that. And it's just one of those things where I really enjoy real estate and really enjoy talking and giving back as well.
Yeah, and you're in Gainesville, right?
Gainesville, Florida. Yep.
But so did you? I know what that is actually, surprisingly. Like this, right? That's how they do it. They do the Gator.
The Gator chomp. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Right hand over left.
I was doing it the wrong way around. So did you move to Gainesville to invest in real estate? We were talking beforehand, and it seemed like maybe that was the case.
Kind of yes, kind of not. So what would happen before I got into real estate, got real estate full time about 2 years ago, but I'd been doing it for longer. And basically before real estate, I was in a healthcare venture, didn't really go anywhere. I was in between projects, still trying to figure out the next thing before I realized real estate was for me. And so I was actually in Chicago in between projects. My brother was, and it still is, working on his PhD here in Gainesville at University of Florida. And he invited me down, like, hey, come stay with me for a couple months, check out this town I'm living in, check out Gainesville. Basically fell in love with it, started doing real estate here, so decided to stick around. So that's why I'm in Gainesville. So it's almost kind of an anomaly. And the market here is good, luckily. So it's been going really well.
What was it about real estate that attracted you?
That's a good question. I always saw so many people really like enjoy it and then do well with it. Like it's lucrative, which is the second thing. And then part of it too is like it's an investment. So it's not like a job, like, okay, you trade time for money. Like if you do it well, you can build up passive income, which is awesome. Like you can make big checks, which is awesome. So that really, I found me really liking it. So that was awesome. And then also with the fix and flip specifically, like it's really cool to see the transformation. So you buy a house or you buy some sort of property, it's crummy. So you fix it up and then afterwards really nice. And then people love it. We always stage our property. So it's really cool to see that transformation before and after.
Yeah, very cool. So how did you get started? What was your first foray into real estate?
Yeah, so luckily it's a family business. So it's been something we've been doing for a couple of years now. I was able to get started and try to help out like with some family properties when I was 14. And what would happen, I'd try to help out, or I'd help out even if it was small, like, hey, here, help demo this, or help rip out this carpet, or help, move these things around, or grab this tool for me. And I was 14 then, and I would like get paid $20 for a whole weekend. I work every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get paid $20. I'm like, this is great. I got $20. I can go play video games or buy a video game, whatever. That's how I got started, 14, and then wanted to buy my own property. My first property, I was lucky enough to buy at 18, saved up and bought like a little condo, and then went from there. And I tried to do my own thing, went away from real estate, then eventually came back because I realized I loved it so much. So happy to get into that as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that your family was in it, so because they had that influence, right? Because when you was talking earlier, like, I saw people being successful in it. Well, I don't think that's the norm, right? That people normally see people as successful, and they're not really aware of real estate so much that, they know it's a good investment, right? You have to listen, educate, and find out for themselves a lot of times. But that's cool that you did that. So when you've arrived in Gainesville and you decide that real estate is the thing, and even though you've dabbled with it a little bit before, where did you go from there? What did you decide? How did you decide on flipping, or did you decide on flipping? And what were your first few investments?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started wholesaling. So I started wholesaling. I was cold calling, getting deals. On my first wholesale deal, made about 3,000, and on the second wholesale deal, made about 3,500. And I would find these deals, negotiate with the seller. I'd find a cash buyer, and I would see that these flippers were then taking the property, fixing up, making 20, 30, 40,000. So I was like, wait a second, I want to be doing that. And it was always interesting to me. So I then transitioned from wholesaling to flipping, and I've just been doing the flipping over and over again. So it really was just trial and error. Like I tried the wholesale, like, hey, this is not for me. And then it's smaller checks. Let's get into something bigger. And then just took it from there for the flipping. For me on the flipping, and this is a good lesson for your audience as well. For me to get into my flip, I had low 500 credit score. I had maybe a few $1,000s in the bank, really didn't have that much money, but I was still able to get a flip because I got a great deal. And then I found a money partner, and then they would put in the money. I found the deal. We would split the profit. And that's how I did. That's how I got started. I know so many people I talk to get tripped up like, oh, I don't have money. I don't have credit. I can't get started. I need to put this on the back burner. But that's not the case. If you can get a great deal, people will throw money at you.
Man, yes. People say that all the time to me. I don't have money to do real estate. I can't do real estate. And I don't know if they truly believe that, if it's just a convenient excuse so they can go, okay, hey, I can stop doing this now. I don't have to work out. I don't have to pursue this. I don't have to put myself in discomfort or whatnot. But it's so true, right? It's like, just because you don't have money, that does not mean that you need real estate. You need money to do real estate. A lot of times there are no money down deals and whatnot. But most of the times you need some sort of money to do something. And even those no money down deals, you need reserves and stuff to fix up and all these kinds of stuff. Yeah. But it doesn't need to be your own, right? And you proved that with that first deal. So maybe talk a little bit about that, because I would like that to inspire some people. How old were you at the time?
So I'm 26 now. I was 24 back then.
Okay, so you're a young guy, right? You're not you have some real estate background through your family and whatnot, but you're not a seasoned veteran, right? You're not done 100 flips a year for the last 10 years and all this stuff, right? So when you were reaching out to someone to partner with you, or you're trying to find out, how were you approaching that? Did you have any difficulty finding money partners?
So let's start with the deal, and I can transition.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So what happens? This was I was doing cold calling. I was calling an absentee owner list, and basically that means that the person's not living there. Maybe they're out of the city, out of the state. In this case, this person was living in Texas. Always, this is Florida. Called her up. Basically what the story was and what happened was, she is a nurse in Texas. She inherited this property. Unfortunately, her mom passed away. The property was sitting vacant for a couple of years. It got hit by Hurricane Irma in 2017. A log went through the roof and then right in the living room. Luckily, no one was there, but the whole place was trashed. And so that was the deal. So basically we bought it for 105. Eventually put in about 28 into it and sold for 170. So pretty good flip. So what happened is I found the deal, did the negotiating, put it under contract, and I was like, oh crap, I need to put the money together to get this done. So essentially reached out in my network to see who would have the funds. And I was actually surprised. There's a lot of people who would want to do these deals. If your money's sitting in the bank and it's making 0.001% interest, might as well put that towards something where you can earn more. Even if it was my first flip, like, yes, there's some risk, but we were looking at comps, like we were looking at the market, and it was like, yes, this is a good deal. So that's basically how we did it. So once I got the deal, then finding the partner was a lot easier. And it's much easier finding a partner when you have something tangible versus you saying, hey, I want to get into real estate. Hey, let's partner on a flip. If you say like, hey, there's this deal, we can buy it for this much, we can put in this much, and look at what's selling in the area, so we can sell it for this much. This is the profit. This can be your portion, this can be my portion. It makes it a lot easier of a sell. Like, hey, if imagine making 10, 20, 10, 15K net profit on your money rather than it just sitting in the bank.
Yeah. And is that so? When you reach out to these people to start off with, what were you saying? How were they? Close family, friends? Was it just acquaintances? What was that first initial conversation like?
I would recommend, so always like put together a list of like maybe 50 people who'd be interested. And the pitch is, who would you know that would be interested? So you're talking to them. And if they're interested themselves, they'll say like, whoa, wait a second, I'm interested. I don't want to do this with you. Let's talk about it. Like, what are some details? So they'll do it that way. If they're not interested, maybe they can pass you on to somebody. I like to call it like the leapfrog method. So maybe that person doesn't know someone, but that person knows someone. Maybe that person doesn't know someone, but you eventually leapfrog to your success or leapfrog to the solution. And just by asking that open-ended question. And if they're in your network, they probably want to help you. and you always be surprised like what resources or what connections you can find that way.
Yeah, and I love that approach as well of, hey, who do you know? Because it's not like, hey, do you want to? It's like, so you know what I mean? You're not going after them, right? So they don't feel like you're selling them. You don't feel like you're, they don't feel as threatened, I guess. So I don't know. I can't think of the right word, but yeah, it's you're not going directly at them, so they can relax a little bit. They're like, oh, this guy's not trying to
salesy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So so that first deal, did it work out just like that? You bought it for whatever it was. You were all in for 128, and then you sold it for.
That's what happened. Made a lot of mistakes on it, which is fine. That's that's part of the game. Bought at 105, and we ended up putting in 28 total. Sold for 170. We had it listed originally for about 190, I believe. Someone gave us an offer for 175, and it sat there for a couple of weeks. At that point, we were just exhausted with the properties. We're like, yeah, okay, let's just take the 175. We'll still make a profit. Let's take this, learn our lessons, move on to the next one. They did the inspection. They found some things. We ended up giving them a seller credit, so it was like 170. Basically, we sold it to them for. But that's pretty much where it went. It was somewhat of a smooth renovation, not too many hiccups. I think the entire process took maybe 8 weeks to renovate it, and then listed it, got an offer there within a couple weeks, and then sold it.
Right, and I'm sure having done that deal, then it made it easier to approach other people as well, right, for future deals, like because that one's been a success. That first investor was probably happy, probably maybe wanted to do another one with you, right, and that's how it essentially grows, I imagine, right? The more success and it's that word of mouth that, oh yeah, I did this deal with this guy and it went great.
So I do want to mention that for your listeners here. So your first deal is your hardest. Once you do your next deal does become easier because you'll have that positive track record to look on. So just like you said, so with that first deal, okay, awesome. We made a little under 30K net. Okay, she got her portion, I got my portion. Awesome. Then we did another one. And then because of that, I actually found another money partner. We were doing 50-50 deals with him and got started there as well. So like, okay, cool. Now I have two partners. I can do more deals, and then slowly transition. Okay, I can do my own deals because I have the financing, my own money, and then it just grows from there. But you just got to get that first deal done. You just got to get your first deal done, and then it really grows exponentially from there.
Yeah, and then on that first deal, was that money partner financing all of it? Did you use some hard money or some other forms of financing with that?
With the first partner, we would do everything always cash.
Okay.
That's just how she wanted to operate. Totally cool. She had the funds, great. So we would do it cash. With his second partner, we would do hard money, and then he would put in the rest. He would put in like the down payment, which would be like 10, 20K, which wouldn't be too crazy. But that's how we did it. That's how we did it for sure. So that's how we got started. And the rest is history. Then kind of took off from there. And but you got to get your first deal done. It's one thing to talk about it for years and years, but once you get that first one done, even if it's a tight deal, like that wasn't my best deal, my first one, but even you're getting a tight one done. I've had some flips where I wanted to make 30 and ended up making like 10,000, but it's still a profit. So you don't get broke. You don't get broke taking a profit, as they say.
Yeah. 10,000 is not a bad check, right? Even though if you're used to a little bigger ones. So then from there, you said you've done a little bit of everything, right? So you've done flips and you're having success in it. What led you to doing other things?
Yeah. So just curiosity. So when a deal pops up that's different, instead of just saying no and having that discipline, it was like, hey, let's try this out. So did try to do the Airbnb model on a couple of the properties. I think there's nothing wrong with that model, just not me. And then part of it too was there's additional capital outlay that I didn't realize. So you got to buy the property. How we were doing it for the Airbnb, we like buy the property, fix it up, and then you also need additional money for the furniture. Like you can't have an empty Airbnb. You got to have money for furniture. And I was surprised how much it would cost for everything. I thought like, oh, we can furnish a whole house for maybe 1,000, 2,000. Like no, it's $5,000, 10 grand, 15 grand. If you want it nice. So we tried the Airbnb, did it on 3 different properties. Again, just not a good fit. I like the before, after, big check of a flip, and then you're done. You don't have to deal with any maintenance, anything. You just move on to the next one. Did the Airbnb, did wholesaling, did flipping, almost got into multifamily. There was a 4-plex here in Gainesville we were going to buy, and like everything looked good, but it didn't appraise for what we wanted it to appraise for. So we ended up backing out. Yeah, tried a little bit of everything, and then just realized I always come back to the flipping. And this is good advice. This is a good lesson there. If you follow your passion, the money is going to follow too. Like if you enjoy doing something, you're going to spend more time on it. You're going to put in the extra effort. Because you put in the extra effort, you're going to earn more from it. Because you're earning more, it just becomes a nice, self-fulfilling prophecy. Nice, positive feedback loop. So it just feeds on itself, and you do more and more.
Yeah. And I think it's so important in investing to understand who you are as a person, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's one thing to say, okay, what's the best strategy for what I'm trying to achieve? But also it's important to understand who you are as a person. Like you said, a few things, like for example, you like the start and the finish, right? Seeing the difference, seeing this property that's in rough shape and seeing it, looking beautiful at the end, and looking, all these nice things that you've done to it, plus that nice check, right, that you can get on and you can go. Plus you also said, it was interesting that you said, I don't want to deal with the management side of stuff, or you said something along those lines, right? And it's understanding, right? And, everyone's different. Everyone has weaknesses. Everyone has strengths. Everyone has goals. Everyone has ambitions. And, it's understanding what works for you, right? And you at this point, through doing some other things, you've understood that flipping is what you like, and what you like to do. You enjoy it, all that. So I think that's a great lesson for anyone, because it's one thing to figure out a strategy that suits what you're trying to do, but also understand who you are as a person, right? And try and do something. Because like you said, if you enjoy what you're doing and you feel passionate about it and it's cool to you, you're going to apply yourself a lot better, right? If it's something like, oh yeah, okay, this is the right strategy for me. I know multifamily is the way to go because I want passive income, but it's kind of boring for me. I like, you know what I mean? It's you just got to understand yourself. I think that's such a great point that you brought up there. So last year you did 20 flips, right?
Right. Yes.
That's not bad at all. How many years have you been in the business?
So full-time for the 2 years, but okay. So I guess technically since I was 18, so 8 years if you want to think of it that way. But then back then it was more I don't want to say passive, but I was like going to college and then like doing other businesses, so it just wasn't full-time. It's just more on the side.
Yeah. So essentially what I was going to get to is you managed to learn how to scale your business, right? What was your first? How many flips did you do in your first year?
Yeah, so I think that's a good lesson too. So first year did 2,
okay,
and then 8,
okay,
and then 20, and then 30. So it wasn't like a huge start. If you saw me my first year, you'd be like, oh, 2, that's that's good, that's not bad. But then if you saw me the second year, like 8, oh, okay, you're starting to build momentum. But it's just one of those things. Like once you. And then part of it too is like the more you do, the more you learn. So you're not going to make those same mistakes. You're going to improve every time. So if you saw my net profit on each deal, like from the start, it was like, 28, 25, 22, and now it's like, 30, 35. So it got better over time too.
Yeah. What do you think? Is there anything in particular that's led to your ability to scale your business? Apart from experience and time and learning?
No, that's a good question. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's pretty much team. So there's when you start out, you try to do everything yourself. So when I was starting out, I would try to help out as much and do as much of the work myself to save money. With regards to like, oh, I can paint, or hey, I can move this debris out, or hey, I can help put in the flooring, or just help out that way. And then you realize over time, like my time is spent better elsewhere. So if I can focus on getting deals and then hire out the rest of the work, then I'm going to be able to do more deals, make more, and that sort of thing. So getting out of that, like, it's just me mentality to getting into more like a team mentality. Okay, I need to hire people. And then as you get bigger and bigger, it's like, what's the mission? What are you trying to accomplish? So it just really breaking that mentality has been huge for me. Like, I'm not in this alone. Like, people want to help, people want to be a part of this, and you don't have to, do this on your own.
Yeah. How do you find your deals? Are you going through wholesalers, or you're doing your own direct to seller marketing?
So about half the deals I get from wholesalers, and then about half the deals I source on my own, like cold calling, or rarely I find a deal on MLS. I got one MLS deal last year, which was good. Sometimes for sale by owner, but mostly wholesalers, about half, and the other half is like direct to seller, off market, motivated sellers.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Flipping is, I think, it's a great business, and it's a great way to learn as well, right? Because the skills, even if you just stick to flipping forever, but the skills of learning how to flip and how to manage contractors, to, you know, how much to fix it up, what to do with the bathroom, the vision that you have, right? Those skills are so transferable to everything else you do in real estate, because the real money is made in real estate. Whatever you do, right? Is it multifamily, single family? If you take something that's ugly and make it nice, right? So you're taking something ugly and making it nice and selling it, but someone could take something ugly, make it nice, rent it out, and live off the cash flow. Same in multifamily, right? The value add, right? You buy a property that needs to be fixed up, units need to be renovated, and if you learn that skill through flipping, you know, I think it's transferable to almost everything that you can do then in real estate.
Exactly. It's, you know, seeing the diamond in the rough, you know, seeing something as it could be, because with a lot of these properties, you have this normal person walk in when it's beat up and they're like, hell no, I don't want to see this place. I don't want to be a part of this place. They run away. But if you have that right mindset and you know what to do and you know how to visualize the end product, then there's a lot of value in that. Like, I know what this is going to look like when it's done. And then it's the opposite when it's really nice. Like, people are, you know, running in there like, yeah, this is it. This is me. And they're putting in offers on it. But just to build on your point, like, yes, those skills are transferable for sure.
I think you guys are artists as well. Like, I'll see a property and I'm like, what can you, like you said, is the smell and the look of it wouldn't put me off, but it's like, I don't know what to do with this property. Like, where do I put the kitchen? Where do I put the bathroom? I have no idea how to change this layout. But you guys can see that, right? I'm sure at this point, and I'm sure it's somewhat of a learned skill, but also I'm sure you have some of an artistic brain as well to be able to see that, right? To walk into a property that is messed up, everything's everywhere, some of these hoarder houses, and be like, okay, yeah. Do you see that when you walk in? Do you see kind of the vision as you walk in?
For sure. And yeah, so it's something you just get through experience. So especially like running numbers and all that stuff. So right now, so when I started, it would take me hours and hours to analyze, like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And then now I walk into a property and like within 90 seconds, I know, like, okay, this needs to go here. This needs to go here. This is what everything's going to cost. So it's just something you build over time in terms of a skill set. And the only way to build that skill set is to look at deals. So that's why I recommend on that. But no, you're spot on. There's an art to it too. It's not just pure numbers. There's also an art to it. You know, it's to look nice, and you kind of blend those two together.
Yeah, it's really cool, actually. I love seeing before and after pictures of properties. For people like looking to get started in flipping, right? What are some of the main things that you could look out? Because you watch HGTV, right? And you're just like, all right, that's easy, right? Or you buy a house for 100 and you sell it for 250, and that's your profit right in between, right? There's no holding cost, there's nothing out. You know what I mean? It's always interesting. They make it look so easy, right? And I think it's caused a lot of people to get in trouble. I think maybe you've spoken to these type of people, but what are some main things that you tell people just on a high level to watch out for if they're starting to flip homes?
I recommend when you're getting started flipping, just to keep it as simple as possible. So for your first flip, I recommend a simple flip. So if it has foundation issues, mold remediation, fire damage, maybe it's in a flood zone, I would avoid that. As you do more flips, I've done those deals as well. As you do more and get advanced, then you can deal with that stuff. But when you're getting started, like, just keep it simple. Like, okay, this place needs a new kitchen, new paint, new flooring, and it's done. Or, hey, this place needs a new roof, new AC, and then some of the stuff inside, like painting and flooring, to be new. Then, you know, it makes it a lot more manageable. Just, you know, Murphy's Law. Anytime something can go wrong, will go wrong. So as you start to add more variables, add more elements that can go wrong, like foundation, you know, flood, everything I mentioned, then it suddenly becomes like things are going to go wrong. It's going to cost more. It's going to take longer. And especially for your first deal, I want people's first deal to be great, where they make money and they're like, okay, cool, I'm hooked, I'm in, let's do more. I don't want it to be a hassle and they're like, I'm glad I got out of it, I never want to do it again. So that's why I recommend, just keep it simple.
Yeah. Keep it KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. And then in terms of analyzing a deal, do you suggest, like, so, you know, a lot of times you buy for 100, say, and you figure out that you get a contractor over, where they say it's going to be 40,000, and then you think the ARV is going to be 200 or whatever it is, right? Do you allow a fudge factor in? Do you suggest that people, I'm sure at this point you've got it dialed in, right? You can kind of look at the properties and you have an idea roughly, even at the worst case scenario, what it's going to look like. Do you suggest people just starting out as well to have somewhat of a fudge factor, maybe a 10% fudge factor for renovations?
I do. So I recommend a 70% rule. So for folks who don't know what 70% rule is, 70% ARV minus repairs is your max offer. ARV is after repaired value. So that's like, once it's all fixed up, what can you sell it for? So that's ARV. Repairs are repairs. Like, what do you need to get it to that tip top shape? So I just do 70% rule, and that's really allowed for a margin of error, allowed for a buffer. I've had, just as mentioned, I've had a lot of those deals where I wanted to make 30 and then end up making 10. And it's thanks to that margin of error. Maybe I missed something or something happened that was unexpected, but because of that, I didn't lose my ass on the deal. So I do recommend 70% rule, and that has the buffer, that has the closing costs, but it makes it super simple. I know, especially when folks are getting started, like there's so much to think about on a property. Like, what about the neighborhood? What about the schools? What about, is it a 3-bedroom, 1-bath? Or is it a 3-bedroom, 2-bath? What's the layout? There's like millions of variables, millions of different factors, but to narrow it down and keep it as simple as possible, I just do 70% rule. Like, if the numbers fit, it's a deal. Okay, let's do it.
And then going back to the market that you're in now in Gainesville, obviously nationwide, all real estate markets are on fire, right? I speak to people all over the country all the time, and it's the same here in Vegas. It's absolutely bonkers, to be honest with you. Are you having more and more trouble finding deals, or are you still finding deals and it's maybe easier to sell? How's this affected your business?
Yeah, so I always see it like it's like an even amount of skill. So it's always the same amount of difficulty. So either it's really, really hard to sell a property, but easy to buy it, or it's really easy to buy a property, but hard to sell it. So it's always the opposite. I don't know if I said that right, but
no, I completely get what you mean. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So right now, I'd say it's harder to buy it, but super easy to sell it. So anytime we have a property that looks nice, we typically have multiple offers within a couple of days, and that's how it typically goes. So right now, it's easier to sell it versus a year ago. Yes, it was still relatively easy to sell. Like, we'd typically sell our stuff within a week or so, full offer, full asking. But it is harder to find deals now. So there's low inventory, less people are selling. So it's definitely harder to find deals. We still are finding deals. Like, we're still on track for the goals for this year, but just more effort, and we got to work with people more, and keep an eye out for potential, and that's pretty much what we're seeing as well over here.
Yeah, very cool. Really interesting in terms of what you're doing and what you've done, and still at a really young age, right? 26 is. I'm jealous, man. I'm 39. I wish I was having your success at 26. And the cool thing is, as well, is that you're in control of your life, right? This is what you do full time, right? You don't have another.
Correct. Yeah. And it's good. I enjoy it, and it's good. It's I don't have to worry about like, I get to make my own schedule, which can be good and bad, but I see it as a positive, and it's been really good. It's been a blessing, to say the least.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Well, as this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I like to incorporate some wrestling-related real estate questions. And the first one is, what would your wrestling name be? If you picked a wrestling name for yourself, what would it be, you think?
I actually named my companies this way because it's kind of a fun playing word. So it's like Victory Flips. So it would be Victory Vic.
Yeah.
Victory Vic. So that'll be my wrestling name.
Nice. Victory Vic. Okay, cool. Every wrestler has a special move. What is your special move in real estate?
I would say follow-up. So it's one of the most understated, underutilized tools. Typically, because I do cold calling, I do other methods of marketing, but I don't think people follow up enough. So on average, for me to get a deal, it takes 10 touches to get a deal. So that's a text, a phone call, an email, a voicemail. That's a touch. So it takes 10 touches over the span of maybe a couple weeks, couple months, and part of it, people are like, I don't have deals, I don't have leads, I can't get deals. But are you really following up that much, to that extent? And part of it too is when people are motivated, like their circumstances change. If you're talking to them in, let's say, January, and they're motivated and something changes in their life, maybe in February they're ready to sell. Like, maybe a tax bill has come up, or maybe there's a family event, they want to sell their property and be able to maybe like attend the family event or travel, or but things change, especially for motivated folks. So I'm a huge proponent of follow-up and just keeping on top of them, and just reaching out and just doing it in a friendly way.
Yeah, very cool. A lot of times the money is in the follow-up, right? What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your investing career?
So I've luckily had no deals where I lost a ton of money. I think I had that first condo I bought when I was 18. I bought it for $55,000. And I ended up selling it for the same price. I think 2 years later, I wanted to get into some other business venture, And I was like, okay, I need to sell this property to be able to fund this other business venture. That other business venture tanked and didn't go anywhere. So I lost that money, but I ended up selling it for what I bought it for. So I didn't really get anything, maybe a little bit of rent, but luckily no body slams, nothing, super negative. So I basically just sold it for the price I got into it. And that's been one of the worst deals, just because I think the person sold it maybe a couple years ago, maybe 2018. I think they sold it for like 110. So if I held on to it, I could have doubled my money. I didn't.
But it's no serious loss. So that's credit to you.
Yeah, I got my money out of it. So I guess
yeah. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope, getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
So this actually ties to that. So that business venture I was going to join or was going to get into, I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people recommended I not get into it. And I was braggadocious, full of ego. I'm like, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. You're going to, look at this, and you're going to, I'm going to be right. And there's a mentor who tried to talk me out of it. He's like, hey, this isn't a good deal. You shouldn't go into this venture. And that's when I knew, like a part of me knew, like, hey, I need to get out of this, but I just didn't have the guts to get out of it. I put a little escrow money. I was buying a business, to give more color, give more context. So I was buying a business, and part of that process, like, you put a little deposit money or escrow money, and I would have lost that. So I didn't have the guts to step out of the deal. Even then I knew it was a bad deal, but I didn't have the guts to step out of it. And it ended up costing me more money. But that's when I could have backed out, and nothing would have, I would have lost that money. It was like 2,000, 5,000, nothing crazy. I ended up losing, 50,000 plus. So.
Sorry, man, that sucks, but I guess lesson learned, right? What can you do?
Lesson learned. It's put me here today, so that's a positive. Yeah,
cool. Well, Viktor, thank you so much, man, for taking the time today to share your story and everything that you've learned along the way. And it's really cool to see what you're doing and the continued success that you're no doubt going to have. Before we go, if anyone wanted to help you in any way or provide anything for you, they've listened to this, is there anything that they can bring to you or do for you?
Well, if you have any deals in Gainesville or Alachua County, I mean, I always buy here. I'm one of the more active cash buyers. So if you have a deal, I'm your guy.
Cool. And then if anyone wants to reach out and get in touch with you or find out more about what you're doing, how can they do so?
The best way is Facebook. Luckily, I have a pretty unique name. So if you look up Viktor Jiracek, Viktor and the rest, then you'll find me. You can just reach out to me, shoot me a message. I'm happy to help. I also have a free Facebook group. I also teach people how to, flip houses. So feel free to pop onto that Facebook group, and I'm happy to help.
Very cool. Well, thank you for your time, man. Really fun talk, and have an awesome rest of your day out there.
Likewise. Thanks for having me. I got to mention, like, this is fantastic. I like your unique angle. This is really cool. Like the wrestling and real estate is really cool. One of the, better interviews I've done so far. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. That means a lot. I've got to use whatever I have, right?
Exactly.